So just a couple of announcements. So thank you so much everyone for joining in. I'm Jatin. I'm one of the co-founder of eChai Network. Uh, I'm based in Ahmedabad, India, but we have chapters in 15 countries in 25 global cities where we physically host the startup networking meetups. After COVID, most of them have moved online. So this particular program is like a culmination of all our different chapters, everyone coming together. So this particular summit is a CoRise SEA summit, which we have co-organized with Vaswani Foundation and TIP Nitro. We have Chris from Vaswani Foundation who's with us, and Cheryl. So Chris, if you can tell us a little more about Vaswani Foundation.
Yes, thank you so much, Jatin. I'm Chris Delgado. I'm a senior program manager of Wadwani Foundation in the Philippines. So I lead the foundation's initiative in the Philippines and also supporting our initiatives across Southeast Asia, like in Indonesia and in Malaysia. And the foundation is a non-profit organization founded by Dr. Ramesh Wadwani. He's a serial entrepreneur in Silicon Valley. And we are primarily focused on accelerating economic development across developing countries through job creation and entrepreneurship. No? So we are very much happy to partner with Jatin, with eChai and TIP Nitro and bringing this live to you guys because I think the startup ecosystem is growing very, very fast. No? Lately, the startup series, Korean series, has been a big thing for the Generation Z. No? And hopefully with the sessions this afternoon, we'll have more young people who would take the path of entrepreneurship, being inspired by very young founders in our startup ecosystem. So glad to be here, Jatin.
Yeah, thank you so much, Chris. And Cheryl, if you can tell us a little more about TIP Nitro.
Yes, good afternoon. I'm Cheryl Arenas. I met Jatin or the eChai because of the network of Wadwani. Yeah, so we are the DOST funded incubator. We are the second batch. Natasha Kubo is the OGs and we call ourselves the Hirit. Yeah, so our mentor is Natasha. So welcome to, I would like to introduce the IP Nitro. Before we only catered clean technology, but now we are now sector agnostic. We have incubators in the field of health tech, financial technology, furniture industry, software as a service, and even laundry delivery. Those are the current incubators of TIP Nitro. And thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cheryl. And so today is the day one of our Southeast Asia Summit. So on day one, we are covering more of a country-specific panels. And then day two is slightly more generic one where investors will be there. There is a growth marketing panel also. So one of the things we keep on saying that we bring in awesome experience with amazing speakers. And the most important part of delivering that is amazing speakers accepting our invites. So Cherry, Natasha, Sharon, and Mel, thank you so much for accepting the invite for being part of this particular program. So the format is going to be, I'll ask, like we will have a brief introduction from all of you, and then we'll have some questions. We'll have some questions from the people who are live with us on Zoom or who are watching on social media. And towards the end, we'll have a rapid fire. So thank you so much, everyone, again. We'll just get started then. If this was a physical event, I would have asked everybody to clap together. So it creates a good energy for everybody. Those who are watching us on Zoom, you can send us some emojis. And those who are watching us on YouTube, Facebook, or Twitter, whichever emoji that they provide, you can send us them also. So thank you so much again, everyone. Cherry, if you can briefly tell us a little more about you, about your business and your Philippine story. Yes, Cherry.
Yes. I'm Sherry Morelion. I'm the founder and CEO of CAWIL.AI. CAWIL.AI is an industry-agnostic artificial intelligence solution. We provide AI as a service. So we basically integrate AI to your system, your enterprise, your mobile app, can be your platform. So basically right now we're doing several projects despite of the pandemic, and we're happy that we have survived. We're ending the year with, I'm not saying also positive, but we survived the 2020 with all the constraint of pandemic. So right now we are all into POC, proof of concept for different application. Like we have an environmental application for mangrove monitoring. We have manufacturing AI integration for automation of defect that we are partnering with a Japanese company through a Singapore acceleration program. And another one to India, another partnership on the automotive automation also through Korea startup. So that's what we're doing right now. We're a bit doing the last mile for the 2020, but yeah, I'm happy to really share it to you. Thank you.
Thank you so much. And Natasha, so last year, around same time, we wanted to launch a Manila chapter where I had reached out to Natasha, and she's been a great support since then. So thank you so much for joining. And if you can tell us a little more about you, about Cubo, and
Sure. So hi, my name is Natasha. I'm the operations head of Kubo Innovation Hub. So for those of you who don't know, Kubo is spelled as QBO, but we say Kubo. And we are the national innovation hub of the country. We are a nonprofit foundation that helps support startups like Cherry and Mel here. And we are a public-private initiative by the Department of Science and Technology, the Department of Trade and Industry, JP Morgan, and IdeaSpace as our mother company. We also have some exciting partners coming in, like investing in women, Youth Business International, and Multisys. So previous to this, actually, my role before Kubo was I used to head Grab in Philippines. So I was living in Malaysia as an intern, and then brought it was called My Taxi then. So My Taxi over to Philippines back in 2013, and my last role there was head of GrabCar. So have been in the startup industry from graduation. So and happy to be here. So and hi to everyone, to all our attendees.
Thank you so much, Natasha. And Sharon, if you can tell us a little more about you and about your business. Yeah.
Sure. So hi everyone, I'm Sharon Vaswani and my company is called Panophthalmics. So it was started here in the Philippines, and it is a platform for sourcing surgical instruments, consumables, and devices as needed by optometrists, as well as by providing lenses and glasses to consumers at, of course, affordable prices. So I really would like to thank you, Jatin, for putting this up together because it's so wonderful to see powerful women as well in this series, especially since only like a third of the founders in the world are in the health tech sector at least are female. So it's wonderful to have the woman's input as well. So in my little picture, you could see that I actually am a licensed optometrist. So since I studied here in the Philippines, we had medical missions. And while participating, in these medical missions, that's where I really noticed the big disparity between those in the higher income and those in the lower income in terms of accessibility towards eye care. So that's something that I would like to, I'm hoping to ease with the creation of Panophthalmics. So I'm very happy to be on board.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining, Sharon. And Mel, if you can tell us a little more about you, about One Export.
Yeah, so I'm Mel from One Export, and basically what we do is we are a one-stop end-to-end platform for cross-border trade and fulfillment services. So basically, if anybody wants to import or export products from the Philippines, we are able to help with that. It's really because we found a big disparity in terms of micro, small, and medium enterprises wanting to export, but they didn't have the same opportunities as opposed to larger companies that have the network and that have the connections to be able to get into these big markets, right? So what we do is we really help them from development. So we make sure that these products become compliant first and up to selling their products abroad. So we are currently selling in 8 different markets now. So US, Qatar, Australia, Singapore, UAE, of course, hopefully we get in India eventually, but right now we are in different markets. We sell to wholesalers, retailers, and recently we've launched an immigrant reseller program allowing overseas Filipinos to become businessmen by investing in micro, small, and medium enterprise products through exporting. So that's in a gist, that's what we do. And yeah.
Brilliant. And Mel, when you were starting up, what were those initial challenges you faced in your early days? What about building a product or reaching out to partners?
Well, for one would be really when we started getting small and medium businesses on board our platform, they really did not want to export. I guess 2-3 years back, the people were just focused on selling to the local market. However, now in the pandemic, where the local consumption has really gone down, it's very important for us to have a different market abroad, and find and take advantage of exporting. So I think the main problem right now would be you have a lot of micro, small, and medium enterprises that are not able to export, but you have e-commerce that is booming on the other hand. So really to be able to bridge the gap and make sure that the small and medium enterprises become digital, right? And have access to markets so that they can sell more products and eventually survive this pandemic is something that we are definitely advocating. But I think the first problem that we really had to solve was really digitization of SMEs, because a lot of them never wanted to go on an online platform, never wanted to give their information, and never even thought about exporting until, of course, something like a COVID-19 hit, and now they need different ways to survive.
Yep. Awesome. And Sharon, to you, the question is, what is that unique insight you had so that when you started this thing? What was that key insight that made you jump to this business?
Right. So it was actually an eventual thing that sort of happened. It wasn't like a big aha or eureka moment, as some people may have. The fact that, I growing up here, I was in the metropolis area, so I was very fortunate. But we were always exposed to, in the sense, seeing people in the provinces who didn't have enough access to proper hospitalization, and especially for their eye care as well. So what happened was, this was brewing in me basically, and I was speaking to my friend who now is my co-founder about this, and he was talking about working with the digital space and making this accessible to everyone. So when I saw there was a potential there, that's when I decided that, okay, let's continue on this challenge of, setting up this business, trying to get the basics right, which is, for example, the licensing, which is very important in my sector, for example. And then from then on, that's where we'll bridge different communities together. And then, as Mel was saying, hopefully we'll get to export to other countries as well.
Awesome. And Cherry, you mentioned about you were working with some corporate for POC also. So
yes.
So my question
although really this year, yes, this year we really had tough times in really securing clients, onboarding them. So I think it's more on, I started with the research, university research. So I have created the credibility on the tech side. So I know in the local, even with Natasha and Kubo, they know us that we are in a deep tech industry. So right then, they know that if we have something on the tech, they call me. It's like, can you do this or what? So it's more on the word of mouth of what happened to the corporate partner that we are working right now. And yeah, although it's really still ongoing, and we are really trying to really lay down all the implementation. But this one will really make us kind of benchmark in the environmental application of artificial intelligence. So that's what we're working right now. Although in the Philippines, as we all know, AI is a very new technology. It's a very new industry, and it's really hard to really talk about it every now and then. So we're really depending on partners, on really, of course, with other acceleration and networks also. And yeah, since I've done acceleration already in Singapore, US, and Korea, so I have a very vast network. So I really reach out with them to really ask them, so can you refer me to, the industry out there? So that's how I do it right now, because it's really hard to travel and you really need to reach out to everybody. So yeah, that's what we're doing.
Awesome. Very well said. And Natasha, you are like an enabler now. You have bird's eye view of the ecosystem. But when you were launching Grab in Philippines, like What were your early impressions? How you went about it?
Oh gosh. It was in 2013, right? Back then, startups in the Philippines, it wasn't as sexy as it is now, right? People didn't really know what a startup meant. Actually, even until now, there's a lot of people confuse startups with SMEs or MSMEs. But we're starting to educate the youth. We're starting to educate the entrepreneurs about this. But yeah, before it was very tough, especially because it was something so new. So when we were setting up Grab here, there were a lot. So one would be the drivers that were didn't really accept it just yet because they didn't know how to use a smartphone. They didn't know how to use the internet, right? The phones that they had were just the Nokia 3310, if you remember that. So we had problems with that. We also had problems with customers because they didn't know how to use it, or initially they were thinking, okay, I'm not gonna use this, right? But besides that, was actually one of the biggest factors was policy, because it wasn't legal yet. So luckily in 2015, that's when we were able to legalize Grab. That was actually one of the last things that I did before I left Grab, was to legalize it. So we are seeing that policy is slowly catching up. We even did the signing of the IIR for the Innovative Startup Act last year, in November of 2019. So we do hope to see really the benefits of the Innovative Startup Act to really help our startups, whether it's through funding or through mentorship or through other benefits. So yeah.
Awesome. And just before we went live, you mentioned about a lot of exciting stuff that Kubo is coming up with. In the early days of Kubo, of enabling startups in Philippines, what was the problem statement you thought, okay, this is the challenge in the ecosystem and we will do this? So what were those things?
Everything was fragmented. The ecosystem was fragmented. Startups were not super talking to each other. The universities were not aligned with each other. The corporates, the government. I feel like it, because we are on the early stage of our ecosystem, it was very fragmented. People and entities and organizations kind of doing their own things. But so one of the things that we wanted to do at Kubo, and the reason why our logo is connected lines, dots and lines connecting each other, is that we really want a unified ecosystem, startups talking to corporates, talking to government, talking to universities. So we really made sure that we partnered with pretty much everyone that is a stakeholder in the ecosystem. That's why we're partnered with TIP Nitro. I know Cherry and Mel from way back. So that was one of the things that we tried to solve, and I feel like we have been quite successful with really connecting the different enablers, different stakeholders in the community.
Awesome. And Mel, when we talk about growth, we talk about scaling up teams, scaling up business, scaling up processes. So in your business, what were those key choices you made? Okay, to build a team, this is how I'll go about. To build a business, this is how I'll go about. What were those stories?
Okay, well, for the business, I think it's really important to understand what your key metric is, right? So, for example, in different startups or in different businesses, it's different, right? So, for example, I'm in e-commerce. The key metric would be how much sales am I bringing back to micro, small, and medium enterprises, right? So it's what people would normally call our GMV, or gross merchandise value. How much are we able to really give back, right? If you're in e-commerce. But say if you are in the service sector, it would probably be, the service quality, how happy your customers are, right? So I think at the start, when we were starting to grow, we really started to look at, what those key metrics are. And for us, that would be GMV, or gross merchandise value. How much value are we able to give to the MSMEs back? The other thing would be customer satisfaction. We had to have, our first few customers, or at least our first 100 customers, had to be really happy with the things that we were doing. Otherwise, it would be very hard for us to scale or get recommended by another person. So we really found that customer satisfaction was very important, right? So I guess we nailed down on those metrics and then built the business from there, right? So when we talk about adding a new revenue model, we always go back to what is the most important metrics for us. Now, when we talk about scaling teams, I think the first thing that we really did was, when you talk about growing teams, there are people that grow with you at the start. So they're a great fit when you're starting the business, but they're not necessarily a great fit when you're growing the business, right? And so I think it is important as startup founders to be able to recognize what those are, right? Or who those people are, right? So I think for us, we always go back to our mission and vision, which is we want to help businesses go global. But again, there are certain metrics. We have to make sure that if there are programs that we'd like to execute, we have to make sure that everybody is on board that mission, or everybody is on board the execution part, and from there we're able to see who really will stay with us, right? Because not everybody will stay with you at the growth phase. They might be great when you start, but they're not necessarily great when you start to grow, right? And that's fine, because there are people that might be just good for that fit. But of course, you also need people to stay long term, and so that's why constantly we make sure we train our people and we make sure that they're also very happy.
Yep. And Cherry, you mentioned about you were part of some global accelerators also.
Yes.
So how do you identify them? How do you get selected? What did you do, or what was that process for you?
So I'm a fan of, like, when there's a call for like delegate for overseas conference or workshop or what, I do apply. So my first conference for startups was in 2018. That was Switch, actually.
Yes.
So that's in Singapore. So I applied to DTI, Export Processing Bureau, to be the representative, part of the representative of the Philippines. So right there and then, after the conference, I got a lot of invitation to join acceleration programs in basically Singapore, India, and Malaysia. So by the turn of 2019, we tried to do acceleration in Singapore. So it was really you find an acceleration that fits your product or your service. So before then, we're doing environmental for marine. So we entered the Port XL acceleration program. It is a Europe acceleration program, but they piloted in Singapore for the Asian cohort. So we joined that. It was a paid supported acceleration program. Port XL funded the whole 3-month program. They gave us also a bit of funding for our product, launching of product or marketing of product. So that's where I started to do overseas connection.
Okay.
But then again, when you do overseas, especially in Singapore, you get a lot of not only acceleration, but companies that are really interested to partner with you. So by the 2019, I got 2 conferences again in Singapore and 1 in Taiwan. So that it grew my network. So doing the Taiwan and like another presentation in Singapore, it's kind of starting your business in Singapore already, because we were lucky enough to be sponsored by our accelerator to secure the business registration for our company in Singapore. So when you're registered in Singapore, they can really check the profile of the founder. It's open for everybody. That's maybe the thing that really pushed me to move forward in the international market. And yeah, after when 2020 started, I was really, since I pivoted more on the AI as a service, because I see that marine is really, it's a small space in the Philippines. So I need to really branch out like my company. So I tried doing AI. So I said to myself, I will launch the AI overseas through my network in Singapore. So I was late last year already doing some letters and communication with my network in Singapore, and like when I get back and renew my my entrepreneur pass in Singapore, it should have been April, but since lockdown came in March, I wasn't able to fly to Singapore and renew my entrepreneur pass. So yeah, so everything really got mixed up, but it didn't stop me from really pushing to my network in the international market, because I think to be relevant in your field, you should know the people that you need to connect with, the people who really would help you grow. And of course, you can ask them, oh, I need your help to network with these people and like that. They will say, yes, I'll refer you, but you don't have the same market. You don't have the same interest. So it would be hard for them to really kind of promote you. So what I did was really, there are few that I know in Singapore that really knows me and my company, so that I leverage more. And I know it's not really, I can say that I'm really scaling to overseas. I'm just really looking for users in the overseas market. So it's not yet scaling. It's really just normalizing my operation. So that's what I'm doing right now. Maybe for the scaling side, I will wait 2021 for that. So yeah, that's what I'm doing.
Yes, and we are also waiting to 2020 to get over, so we get to the new beginning of new exciting opportunities. Sharon, you had mentioned that probably your partner is from Malaysia, or you were based in Malaysia for this business.
My co-founder is based in Malaysia. I've been in the Philippines all my life.
Okay.
Despite my appearance.
Awesome. And you mentioned about the Eureka moment story of yours.
Right.
So what are the exciting opportunities you are seeing in next 3 to 6 months?
All right. So in terms of 2020, since the pandemic hit, things have become a little slow. And so, like as Sherry mentioned, we can't really think of scaling our businesses, but we're thinking of our startups going back to what it was really in terms of focusing on the most important thing, which is the product that we're launching. Right. So, for example, in my case, wherein we serve medical devices to consumers, we're working on the research and development of building new products, because that's something that you don't necessarily need to have international exposure or travel physically to, for example. So our R&D team is looking at how we could possibly bring more innovative products here in the Philippines, and to make sure that they are at affordable rates and that they're accessible to all segments of the population. Because what I seem to notice is that when it's a new item that's brought into the world market, the Philippines isn't necessarily one of the first countries to get it, right? So we're kind of taking steps in retreating, kind of going back to the basics and seeing what other products can we generate and develop from our end in order to put this into action come 2021, or when the situation normalizes.
Yep. Awesome. We have some audience questions. Malav Varke has asked, what are your top marketing channels that you are driving the most revenue growth? If not marketing, then affiliate or partnership or any other channels. So what effort of yours is driving more revenue growth for you? Mel, you want to pick this up?
Yeah. So for us, our top marketing channel would be we partner with the government, right? Department of Trade and Industry, and we also partner with different corporate companies like Union Bank. We, for example, are also part of the Idea Space program in the Philippines. So basically, we have leveraged partnerships, and we've also leveraged our partnerships with government, allowing us to really gain credibility, so that people, when they start to get products or services from us, it would be relatively easy to just trust us, and so that's sort of driving our revenue would be from those different partner channels would be 90% of our current revenue. But we also have a lot of organic reach. So currently our Facebook spend would be something like $50 per month currently, but we are onboarding at least something like 10, 20 MSMEs per week. So we have that has been really very effective for us. Facebook has been effective for us. We are starting to build our own community of micro, small, and medium enterprises, as well as reseller networks. So that's also been very effective for us, although we have not done any marketing spend for that.
Awesome. So it's 30 minutes into the session, so we get to this part. So one of the major idea of this particular panel is that there are a lot of people who are not based in Philippines but want to expand their business in Philippines. So Natasha, according to you, what are the top 2-3 things they should take care, or if they do that, they can do much better in Philippines?
Are you referring to foreign startups coming to Philippines?
Yeah.
I mean, I think there are a few things that are unique here in the country, in Philippines as compared to other countries. I guess one thing that's common all throughout in all countries is always to understand customers, right? Understanding customers is something that's universal. So I think for foreign for foreign startups coming into Philippines, they should understand their customers, get feedback. But Philippines is actually more social. So we are on Facebook all the time. We're on Instagram all the time. We like talking, we like chatting, and we're consistently online. So that's another thing I guess that they should watch out for, is that we do like giving feedback, and we do like posting stuff on Facebook and on Instagram, which could actually be a good thing for foreign startups coming in, is that they can listen to their customers a lot more. Besides that, I think, of course, I do want to discuss also the situation in the Philippines when it comes to politics, and also the legalities of things, because it is obviously different as compared to the rest. Although I also represent government, and I do know that we are doing the best that we can to really speed up, like being more up to par with the technologies nowadays.
Awesome. Very well said.
Yeah.
What would be your top 2-3 points for other founders who wants to scale their business in Philippines?
Sorry, is this question for me?
For Cherry.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yes, for foreign companies that's coming into the Philippines, I've noticed several of them. And I'm also watching on like the Singapore side on Filipinos also going to the Asian side. So I think they need to do some compliance on the, starting a business here in the Philippines, because I think that will be the real constraint here in the Philippines. Unlike, maybe I can compare with the Singapore. It's like you can process your registration in Singapore even in 2 days, as long as you have your complete requirement, and you have a Singaporean partner or a resident there. It is really easy. But here in the Philippines, even though you see that we are not there yet in the industry side, there are policies that you need to comply, and the process is really long. So I would really advise those startups that really review the registration here in the Philippines. Although there's a startup law, I've seen it, and it's in a way ease the process, but still, if you're a foreigner, you need to comply. But with the market side, the Philippines is really on the e-commerce and retail and logistics. So it's really booming on that side. So if their startup is on that side, automation of like selling goods and products, that is a good business here to start. Really, it's a rubble type of market right now. So if they really just want to have this following for their startup, then they can do it here in the Philippines, as most other countries allow foreign startups in their country. So I think that I've seen Indonesia also, and like recently Myanmar, they're into a lot of e-commerce also, and I think on the local side, the e-commerce market is really booming. And if you are really want to test your startup, your product, yeah, you can come here in the Philippines. So that's my two advice. You review your registration here in the Philippines, and maybe if you want to test a product, you do the e-commerce side or the logistics side. So yeah, that's it.
And Mel, what would be your top 2 points?
Well, I think what's important to note is if, for example, for us, if you solve a relevant problem in the Philippines, the market will come to you almost organically. So I'm just saying, ever since we started the company, we have very little marketing spend to get customers, and that this is really because we are solving a relevant problem. So if you're a foreigner and you feel like you're going to be solving a relevant problem, the Philippines is the best market to test because the problems here are complex, and if you're able to solve the problems here, you'll also be able to solve the problems in a lot of other markets, right? So I think that's why also a lot of foreigners come here to build their startups. The second advice I would give is really there are great local accelerators. So you have Kubo, you have TIP Nitro, you have Idea Space, for example, who is getting their applications, they're closing their applications on February 28th. So I would suggest that you also go through local accelerators to enter the market because they will really give you a good insight in terms of how to enter. They will connect you to the right people so you don't have to do this on your own or you don't have to spend so much. And they will also subsidize part of the operation. So for example, in Idea Space, they helped us with our operations at the start, but they've also connected us to big corporates such as PLDT, and even the other MSMEs that want to export, they refer them to us. So I think those are the two things to take note of. If you feel like you're going to be solving a really good problem, the Philippines is the best market to start. I know it's complicated, but that is why, on the other hand, there are accelerators that could help you here. And let me just say that kudos to Kubo. They have really built a good ecosystem for the Philippine startups. I agree. Like when I was starting my startup back in 2016, I couldn't talk to people, but now even like there's a really good ecosystem because if you have problems, you can just go to a startup founder, ask them, and they will be really kind and nice to give you advice on what not to do and what to do. So I think that's also partly helped us grow. And the ecosystem building that was invested in a few years back has really bloomed. And I think the Philippines is very much ready in terms of growing different startups and even foreign startups that want to enter the Philippines.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mel. And Sharon, what would be your advice to other startup founders wanting to do well in Philippines?
I think they also beautifully said, the pros and cons of setting up the businesses in the Philippines. Of course, you do have to check on the legalities of setting it up. I'm not really an authority on that matter. So I would just rather focus on perhaps what Mel said, that, the Philippine markets here, it's very, there's a lot of ease of access in terms of communication and in terms of getting feedback, right? Immediate customer feedback. So for example, if you're addressing an issue, say we're all addressing different pertinent issues, then, they're very quick to give their responses as well as to what could be, like, for example, your quick fix to this to this problem, or so you don't feel any hesitations in terms of trying out different things as well, because it's a very good testing market to see how the audiences will take on your product, for example, or how they will react to your certain way of doing things. So I think it's a very good way for you to also expose your startups to different kinds of markets, and one very receptive market is in the Philippines. So yeah,
Awesome.
that's my 2 cents.
Let me just add to Sharon's point. If you want to really grow in Southeast Asia, Philippines is a market that you really cannot miss. So it's a critical market for growth, as well as Indonesia. So those are two markets you cannot miss.
Yes.
I mean,
And now
100 million
yes, Natasha.
people Yeah, I mean, we have more than 100 million people, and that's consistently growing. Our economy is still growing despite the pandemic. Plus, it's so easy to talk to us. We all speak English, so that's always a plus for foreign startups to come in.
Yep, absolutely. And now we get into the my most favorite part of this panel discussions, where we have speakers asking questions to each other. So, Sharon, what would be the question you may want to ask any one of them?
Oh, wow. Well, thank you for this opportunity to actually ask them. So I'm very interested in those, for example, who've been in this marketplace, in the ideation. So I'm still stuck in the ideation phase, for example, and I would like to go beyond it. So I really would like to possibly ask Cherry or Natasha, who have had experiences in dealing with overseas markets, and also how the growth of your startup can be. What are the different stages, for example? And what pieces of advice would you give, for example, to a person who is still bootstrapping, trying to figure out their products, and then how do we move on to the next stage from here? So either Cherry or Natasha could pick the question up.
Yep.
Go ahead, Cherry.
Okay, answer first.
You can speak at the startup.
So yeah, I'm still in bootstrap actually. And the good thing here is when you're bootstrap, you know your expenses. So it's really hard to say that, oh, I have a grant, I spend this for my equipment, buy things that I need for marketing and all that you do. But then again, you lose focus on the product. So when you're bootstrap, you are focused on the value of your product. So for me, I'm still bootstrap. All the right now, I have two actually project grant, but it's more also relevant to the question of yours that you're still stuck in the ideation side. So for me, that's where I validate my product with the projects or the POC that I do, because I see that they look at me providing the value that they are looking for, like with the AI. So they reach out to me because they know I'm doing that AI side. So they keep on really asking me, can you do this? This is the AI that we want. Is this part of AI? Is this so with your I think product on the ophthalmology side, if I'm not mistaken. So you need to build your name or your credibility or your market on that side. So you can say that I want to like sell things related to ophthalmology, but this is not really my main product. But since I need to have the finances moving, so I'm inserting this as part of my product. That's what I did with like doing projects on AI side. But right now, we're really I've seen the market that the market overseas are in starting starting with the automation and application of AI in their manufacturing. So manufacturing is really a big market. And like me talking to Japanese, like I tell to my team, I don't know how to speak with Japanese, and I need somebody to accompany me with the tech. So I told my team that who's doing anime or doing that time. So somebody said I understand Japanese, so I bring them to the meeting and like so you kind of really pinpoint your market, matching with your capabilities, because at the end of the day you can offer something that is kind of best selling, but you don't know how to market or sell it, it won't work. So you should know your market, your capabilities, and you can ideate ideation happens every now and then, because our client is looking for something new. So it can be on the marketing side, product improvement, or like promotion, something loyalty. So we need to analyze on how we kind of differentiate our product. So it's a cycle, and if you really want to do really penetrate the international market, you have your Malaysian partner. I know Malaysia is really a good place to really launch your product. So right now, I'm also working with another company with Malaysia, but we're still discussing things together. But I know the market is good in Malaysia. It's very near Singapore, so it's the business is really there's no issue doing business with them. So they're very open. Their market is really growing, and you both have the medical, you have the technical, you have the e-commerce side, and yeah, uh, it's a matter of really identifying what is your strength.
Correct.
That's basically my advice, knowing your strength.
Awesome.
So yeah.
And Mel or Natasha, we'll complete the cycle. Either you are, Mel, you want to ask a question to Natasha, or Natasha, you want to ask a question to Mel. Who will pick this up first?
I can ask a question to Natasha, which is well, I mean, I'm very impressed in how you guys really built Kubo. I mean, I was one of, back when I was really ideating my startup back in 2015 up to now, I've really seen the difference in how, the ecosystem has really grown. And this was really like thanks to the efforts of government, private sector, and of course, Kubo is one of the catalysts for this growth. But where do you see startups in the Philippines growing into? What are the trends that you think people should look out for? And is the outlook very good or very bright? So.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think I would like to say it's very bright. Because of the pandemic, it actually accelerated the growth of startups in the country. So there's a report, the PwC report, COVID edition, which we took part in. We actually helped with that report. So it says that like around a fourth of the startups are actually doing really well, and more than half of the startups are offering new businesses. I mean, you see that, like with our friend at Grocer Genie, before she was Style Genie, right? So you have all these we have all these startups that are really adapting. So I do want to say that it's very bright in terms of next year. I do still believe that a lot of our startups will still will still be in fintech, logistics, e-commerce. I think those are obviously the industries that we need, again, because of the pandemic. But one thing that I do want to also note is now more than ever, startups are collaborating with much more than themselves. So we see some startups collaborating with government, providing them solutions, like you, Mel. We have like universities also really enabling their startups. I mentioned this from the very beginning that, when we started at Kubo, the ecosystem was so fragmented, but now we are forced to really work with each other. And even the corporates are working with startups because they know that startups are just way faster than them, and they have better solutions sometimes, because of technology, because of innovation. So that is one thing that I do that I hope to see more of next year, which is collaboration, not just with startups to government or startups to corporates, right? But startups to startups, like startups really supporting other startups. So yeah.
Awesome. We'll try to do a rapid fire. We can give 1 or 2 word answers to it. Sharon, which is your favorite book?
A favorite book?
Yep. And that you would want to recommend other founders.
Oh, to the other founders. Well, I'll get you the title of this investment book that I had. It's by Ray Dalio. He has this, I think it's called Principles. So he has this chapter there. And I found it very insightful because it's something that I could apply not only just to my startup, for example, but also in other aspects. So Principles by Ray Dalio.
Okay. Awesome. And Mel, which is your favorite book that you would want to
I have two. So one is The Obstacle is the Way by Ryan Holiday, and The Hard Thing About Hard Things by Ben Horowitz. So basically, this was very important, especially during the times where I thought my startup was going to fail. I would read those books to really just go on and make sure that, I focus on the problem and not on me being overwhelmed by it. So I think those two books are great.
Natasha, which is your favorite book?
Maybe I don't really have favorites, but I do know that for startups, if you haven't obviously read The Lean Startup by Eric Ries, then why? So that is the most basic book, right? But I think one thing, because I'm in operations, like it's my heart and soul bleeds operations. One book that I actually really liked is Measure What Matters, which teaches OKRs and really like knowing how to set goals. And I feel like a lot of our startup founders don't know how to do that. So yeah, Measure What Matters is also a pretty good book.
And Cherry?
And very easy. Very easy reading.
Yeah. So I agree with Natasha, the Lean Startup. And I'm into like old books. When I started, it's The Art of War. It's not really about war. It's really about business and really how to pin down your market. So I read The Art of War first. It's like I read it 3 times. And yeah, The Lean Startup is a good book also, especially when you're really into the startup side. So yeah, I recommend that.
And entrepreneurship is very humbling experience. We win award, but sometimes you have to take favors from our friends or the people we know. So which is the most recent favor you had to ask? Cherry. I'll give my example. The most recent I asked to Cheryl and Chris that we have amazing speakers, we have good summit. So please make sure that we have enough audience who will listen to them. So this was the favor I asked, which is the most recent. No? Cherry, which is the most recent favor you had to ask from someone?
Can you repeat that again? What's the recent?
Which is the most recent favor you had asked for someone?
Oh, favor.
Yeah.
Actually, the most recent favor I asked for someone is really to troubleshoot my tech. So I called back an old friend, an engineer who's already based in the US, to really come up with something because I'm stuck in proving something with my team. So we're not in the same place. So I kind of need somebody to really tell me, is this working or not? So I asked him a favor, and it's like I didn't talk to him for quite some time, and then I just came back and called him like, I need a favor. I need to really validate this question from you. So yeah, that's the favor that I asked most recently.
Very well mentioned. Sharon?
So I'm actually trying to work on this comprehensive virtual engagement platform. So and Cherry's question was, how does this work? My question was, is this even possible? So I had to call I called an app designer friend of mine, and I was like, is this even possible with the technology? So she was able to help me out. Well, we're getting there, I think, because at first she was like, Sharon, I don't really know how we're going to interpret it, but let's take it one step at a time. So I'm thinking that this is going to be a long process, but it started with that one favor.
Awesome. And Mel?
Well, I think the recent favors I'm asking of some of our partners is right now with also the initiative of Kubo and the TDIs. Recently, we are, of course, Cagayan and Tugigaraw are some of the most hardly hit places in the Philippines. And they were so actually supposed to have their sort of startup weekend this December, but they moved it to January. And so one of the things that we're kind of helping them out with is to encourage these people to start startups in the provinces that are sort of related to their current problems in environment and jobs. And so we're asking people to sort of donate to their cause, meaning like if you can give free phones or something, just because it's like we want to be able to help the startups ecosystem of really badly hit companies, badly hit provinces. And so we work with companies and we're starting to ask, these things so that, we can encourage more startups in the provinces.
Awesome. And Natasha?
It's funny because actually, most of the time people ask us for favors. Startups are usually the ones asking us for favors. But now that you asked that question, I do like recently. Actually, we also ask favors from our startups. I'm so happy to have the support of some of our startup founders that have graduated from our programs that are now mentoring our startups. So we have people like Roland of Kumu, hopefully our very first unicorn in the Philippines, and even Ron Baetyong of Chatbot and now Hustle Share that are actually helping us help our startups. So they mentor them, they provide workshops and classes, they do one-on-ones with them. So that's, I guess, the most recent favor that we had to ask at Kubo anyway.
Awesome. And if everything happens the way you imagine it should be, what would Kubo be?
Sorry, if
everything happens the way you imagine and everything goes the way you feel that it should go, and then what would Kubo become, or Kubo Innovation Hub become?
Honestly, if Kubo was if we did our jobs at Kubo, we wouldn't be around anymore, right? There wouldn't be a need for an innovation hub to be around, because then startups would have their support, startups would have capital, startups would have this and that. That actually would be the dream is to not have to depend on someone. But in the meantime, I think the dream for Kubo is my dream anyway for the next few years is to have more money, more funding, more capital, not just to fund startups, because we do know that is one of the things that our startups need, but also so that we can create even bigger programs, long-term programs, and support, get even international mentors or even other partners outside the country to really provide support and to really develop our startup founders.
Awesome. Mel?
Well, if everything went as planned, of course, the idea is we open our office in Indonesia, which is something that we really have been trying to get into. The other thing would be, of course, we would really like to provide relevant solutions to all of our micro, small, and medium enterprises. Our goal and our long-term goal is to make the Philippines a more export-oriented country. And so hopefully by that time, it eventually improve the economy, right? The same way that Japan and US are exporting countries. So, we envision a more export-oriented Philippines and a more export-oriented Southeast Asia, and so hopefully with the help of one export. So that's sort of our long-term thing.
Brilliant. Sharon?
Right. So in terms of if everything goes well and this pandemic vanishes for in the next year, then I'm hoping that Panophthalmics can continue to expand the startup into other countries in Southeast Asia, so that we can not only help the people in the Philippines who need to have access to their eye care, but then also the others in the other region in the region that was mentioned. So we're probably going to take it one country at a time if it works.
Awesome. And Cherry?
Yes, if really everything works for us, we want to be the leading AI provider in the Philippines, not just for technology adoption like automation and all, but people who are like the grassroots communities that uses AI for their benefit. Because we know technology, it should benefit everybody, not just the user, the one that creates the tech or the one that can afford it. How about those in the grassroots community? That is really our dream, to really bring the technology into the grassroots. And really for us to really fulfill that, we need to really venture first into the market that supports the AI. So that's why if things really work out, I was supposed to be in Singapore, and I'm doing 2 partnership with them, and yeah, it was kind of put on hold. So I'm really looking forward next year to really ease the pandemic and really work with them. So what I've seen with us, it's really a niche market, and sometimes when you talk to other even accelerator, they think that, what are you talking about? But I'm so happy that I even though I keep on talking about it, especially in the acceleration side,
Cherry,
I find
Cherry,
partners with
Cherry,
them. Yes,
sorry, I'm
yes.
interrupting you. We have just 1 minute. We started on time.
Okay,
We
yeah, that's what I do. If things
And-
happen, I move forward overseas.
and
Yeah, sorry.
And one more question I want to ask all of you. So probably you can just give a one-word answer to it. Before that, all the videos are streamed on social media. So those of you who have more questions to some of our speakers, we'll be posting it on LinkedIn where all the speakers will be tagged. So you can ask more questions in case if you want to ask more questions to them. So if you were to describe your entrepreneurial journey in one word, what would that one word be? Cherry?
Persistent.
Okay. Sharon?
I'm hoping resilient.
Okay. Well, these 2 words are taken.
Yeah, I was gonna say resilient too. So yeah.
Okay. And Natasha?
2 words. Sorry, I can't do 1 word, but crazy beautiful.
Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. And thank you so much, Vaswani Foundation team and TIP Nitro team for being part of this program. We'll have 1 hour break, and then we'll move to our friends from Indonesia. And thank you so much, Sharon, Cherry, Natasha, and Mel for joining for this program. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Jatin. Thank you,